Life's a trip, ain't it? About 6 years ago, I went down to Mexico, and when I came back, I wasn't the same person. It all started when I met this guy, Javier. He was an older guy, really cool, really sweet guy, very giving. I think the first time I met him, he actually gave me like 7 Carlos Castaneda books, which I thought was just really awesome. The second time I met him, he had got me this Coco Pelli that was holding a mushroom. He found it at a yard sale and he wanted me to have it because he thought of me when he saw it. He was just the sweetest guy. And one thing that stuck with me is that when I the through the time that I knew him, he was on dialysis. He was waiting for a kidney. And one day he gave me another thing. He gave me one of the most profound experiences of my life. A kind of medicine ceremony. He offered me to join him down in Mexico to take part in it, and I agreed. And there was a part of me thinking that, he was using these ceremonies as a way to try to heal. But, one Saturday morning, I got up, I drove about an hour south to the border, and I met him there at a Burger King just feet away from the border. We paid for parking, and next thing I knew it, we were walking across on foot. We crossed the border, and we were in this little corridor where, a bunch of people were wandering around, and there was vendors selling souvenirs and candies. And we kind of plowed through all that and got to the end where there's a little counter where we could change our dollars into pesos, currency exchange. So we stopped there, did that. Next thing I know, Javier is hailing a cab. So one pulls up and we jump in. And me being a No Sabo kid, I don't really speak Spanish, even though I'm a Lopez, you know what I mean? I speak it, but not fluently. So I was kind of reliant on Javier. And so he rambles off to the lady where we're going. I just hear La Casona. I knew that name. And she takes off. And she takes off like a bat out of hell. Like she is weaving through traffic like a getaway driver. It was pretty intense. And her little daughter or granddaughter is like in the front seat, in the passenger seat, no seatbelt, probably about 3, 4 years old, playing with a Barbie and just kind of like intently looking back at us, staring at us, trying to, figure out who we are. And so we get to about probably the west end of Nogales, Sonora, and we make a hard right up this hill. And it's a dirt road and it's like a really washed out road. It had been raining for a few days before this. This is in the summer, like during monsoon seasons. And we're winding up this road. It's bumpy. And my heart's kind of pumping because we're getting closer. You know what I mean? It's like it's starting to get real, like we're there. And I'm about to take part in this ceremony. And so we pull up to the top of this hill, and there is La Casona. It's this mansion, this old, like abandoned mansion. It's made of brick. You can tell like the insides are gutted. It's just the frame of the house. And we get out, we pay our fare, and I'm looking through the garage to the backyard. There's no doors on the garage, just the brick frame. And there's a grass courtyard, and I can see people are already taking part in the ceremony. And so we walk in slowly, and immediately I see this big bearded guy sitting on the grass on a blanket, just kind of weeping, soaked in water. And who I would assume is his significant other, just kind of consoling him and holding him. And we walk in and we introduce ourselves to a few people. And we realize that it's going to be a little bit because there's about 4 or 5 people ahead of us. And so we sit and we kind of just watch what's going on. There's a few other different types of ceremonies going on. And so we witnessed a few people go ahead of us. And these men, after they take in the medicine, they seem to be resisting it pretty hard. One guy starts grunting really loudly, kind of pushing his breath through his teeth, like clenching his jaw, like, you know what I mean? Like spit kind of flying out, and he flops onto his belly, and he's kind of like clawing at the grass and pulling it from the earth and just like ripping it and throwing it. And I already had anxiety leading up to this point, but watching this happen really just spiked it. And he wasn't the only one who did that. The guy after him did the almost exact same thing. And I was just like, wow, I need to calm down a little bit. So I decided to go walk off to the side a little bit and go meditate and just close my eyes, just center myself and get myself prepared, because this was no small task that was about to happen. And so about 20 minutes later, it is our turn. And I go and I sit on the grass. The shaman and the guy, they kind of tell me what to do, and I agree. And then it's go time, and I take in the medicine slowly but deeply, and I feel it immediately. It grabs me. And I want to say that everything kind of turned cartoonish. Everything was completely exaggerated and vibrant. And rather than hold on to the visual that my eyes were seeing, I decided to just roll back onto the grass. And I just felt myself dissolving, essentially. It's hard to explain. It's a very violent feeling, and it's also very dissolving at the same time. It feels like you're getting launched from a cannon, but then your body, rather than getting launched, it turns into a trillion particles. And I lay there, and I was still somewhat coherent of my body. I was still somewhat conscious that I had a body, but I was losing control of it quickly. And I felt my chest kind of compress, and I almost felt like I didn't know how to breathe. Like I didn't know if I was going to be able to start breathing again. And my body just kind of made these guttural groans, and I was just going like, "Arr, arr, arr, arr," and but I mean, you're not embarrassed because you don't really know what's going on. And after that point, it's it's a it's obliteration. There's a few coherent parts right before that, like, or right after that, where I hear them shaking rattles and starting to sing around me. And I remember, just, it was in the daytime, it was hot. Like, this was not happening in like a cool evening setting. This was in the middle of the sun, you know what I mean? And my eyes were closed, and I could see like the brownish orangeness of the light coming in through my eyelids. And there's no visuals with this, not like other forms of this ceremony medicine. But one thing I do remember, and I will always remember this, is that behind my eyelids, in that brown orangish tint of the sun coming through, I saw the flower of life very faintly. And I saw all of the circles kind of undulating in on themselves. And that's when I completely lost any sense of having a body, any sense of being a human, a person, anything. It was glorious. I was a pure ball of consciousness, and I was everything else. There was no separation between me and anything in the world. Like, it was like I was everything. And it was the most jolting and most beautiful experience that I think I've ever had. And I'm laying there, and I don't know how long I'm laying there for. It can't be more than 5 or 10 minutes, but they are rattling and singing around me. And it feels as if my soul is being cleansed. Like it feels as if the the rattle of the shake of the rattle, it feels like with every shake it's jostling my insides, and like everything is just being washed. It was like my soul, my spirit was being washed. It was amazing. And after I lay there for some time, the song that they were singing and the rattle that they had going on was starting to come to like a crescendo. Like it was building and it was building. And as it was building, my experience was building. It was like coming to a peak. And so, sha, 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 ha, 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 hey, yeah, 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 ah, yeah, 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 hey, yeah, 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 sha, yeah, 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 ch, 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 ja, 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 cha, ja, 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 cha. And it was like, woo, when I just got goosebumps, like just explaining it. And it was just like this burst of energy. And immediately, like, my eyes kind of shot open, and all I could say was holy shit. Like like I think I yelled it in front of everybody. I was like, holy shit. And I opened my eyes and I immediately went to my stomach, but I pushed myself up off of the ground and I was looking at the blades of grass. And the grass was just in my face. It was like a jungle of grass, and it was like vibrant and glowing. And oh, I had to catch my composure right there for a second. And I was like, what the hell? And I felt so good. It was like orgasmic, right? Like it was amazing. And I get up on my feet and I see people coming towards me, like, because I get up on my feet and I start walking to the edge of the courtyard. And the edge of the courtyard is like on a cliff. Like there's a brick wall, like a rock wall. And if you go over that, you're falling like 30 feet down a mountain. And so they kind of come rushing over to me, trying to make sure that I don't like fall over it. And like I just immediately like grab the guy and like hug him. And I'm like, that was amazing. Like, and he's like, oh yeah, you're all right. You're all right. And I'm like, yes, I'm good. I'm good. And I just kind of stood there looking over Nogales from this mansion, just in awe, just mind blown, just awestruck. And it was beautiful. It was amazing. And yeah, after everything kind of settled down and I sat down, and it kind of lingered with me for like 15-20 minutes, and it was amazing. And then so everyone kind of does their thing. We shake hands with people, we take some pictures, we give our donations. I purchased a medicine bag, an orange one with some toads on it. And we actually jump into the car with one of the guides. He wasn't the shaman, he was like the shaman's apprentice. He was like helping them, but he offered to give me and Javier a ride back into Nogales. And so we accepted, and we jump back in the car, and Javier kind of looks back from the front seat and he's like, you want some food? And I was like, yes, because like that was very taxing. Like it takes a lot out of you. And so the guy takes us down. Once again, we're weaving throughout the city, and we pull up to this little hole in the wall, literal hole in the wall. Like it's a building, and the corner of it, like all the bricks are gone. It looks like a car ran through it at one point. But we walk into that and we're in this little Siete Mares, you know, establishment with seafood. And it's just regular benches. It's hot as shit. There's flies everywhere. They give us a couple bowls of ceviche and siete mares and some chips and some salsa and some lime, and we just go to town. We just eat, and it was amazing. It was the best meal I ever had. And we drank some Mexican Coca-Colas, and it was beautiful. I felt like Anthony Bourdain or something, you know what I mean? But yeah, so we eat and we go back across the border. We walk across the border, and we're standing in the parking lot of the Burger King, and I'm still just blown away, and I just kind of look at Javier, and I'm just like, "Hey man, thank you. That was really like amazing." I didn't know what to say. I couldn't even express the gratitude that I had for that experience. And he's like, "No problem, man. Let me know if you want to come back." And we shake hands, and I get in my car and I leave. And it was phenomenal. And I'm driving back. I'm driving back home, and I'm looking off to the side of the highway. And like I said before, we're in monsoon season, so the mountains of the desert are green, they're lush, they're beautiful, and I'm just looking at this mountain off to the side of the highway, and I had this crazy feeling. I just looked at it and I was like, I am you. You are me. Like I was the mountain. I was connected deeply with the earth at that moment and with nature. And it's still very hard to wrap my mind around what actually happened with me internally, because from that point on, I think that was like 6 years ago, maybe a little bit more, and my life has gotten nothing but better since that point. And that was a point where I was like struggling for a really long time, with my mental health. And part of the reason I went down to take part in this ceremony is because of my mental health. And I'm not telling anybody to go do this. What I did was risky and dangerous. And if anything, this is more of, you know, harm reduction story, but these ceremonies are important. And people like Javier are important. And sadly, Javier, I just learned about a year ago that he passed away. He never got that kidney that he was waiting for. And unfortunately, the medicine didn't really give him what he was hoping to find. But I cherish Javier in my memory always. He's a really good dude. And like I said, for like 3 months after that experience, I would be at work or I'd be anywhere, and I would just have a conversation with people, and my body would just flush with this cold, goosebumpish energy, and I would just be like flushed with happiness. And this went on for like 3 months straight. I don't, it was like the first time in my life that I hadn't experienced like anxiety or depression for like a 3 month period. It was insane. And since then, like, I still get those. I get flashes of that every now and then. And I think that has a lot to do with my awareness and nervous system work, but I still get that stuff every now and then, but nothing like that initial time. But it rewired me in some certain way. But it was also scary. It was really risky. And really anything worth doing, like when you were talking about change and growth, it's not going to be all glitz and glamour. Like it's not going to be all happy rays of sunshine and love. It's going to be risky. It's going to be scary. But sometimes we come out on the other side of those experiences with a little bit more knowledge and a little bit more grace and gratitude. So that's my story. I hope you enjoyed it. Comment down below what you thought of it. If you've had anything similar, and please give me a like and subscribe. Holla at your boy. We'll see you on the next one. All right. Peace.